Back when I was in 6th grade, there was a girl that I had a major crush on. However, being the shy boy that I was at the time, I was too afraid to tear up my feelings. So time passed, and after I accidentally told my friend that I had a crush on her, he did what all teenage boys did. He told her that same exact day. Of course I was scared and wasn't sure how to react. I mean, all I wanted to do was hide because it was easier to accept my imagination about being in a relationship with her than accept reality for what it was. And by the time my friend came back to me, he told me she wasn't into me. Yeah, not the average ending you were probably expecting, but it happens. You like a girl, they don't like you back, and you move on until you meet someone who actually does like you. Of course, that's the way we're taught to think when we're young, but it's really one of those situations where it's easier said than done. When my friend told me this shocking truth, it was actually one of the first times I was rejected. I mean, it wasn't done directly, but it still felt the same. And as a result, I was even more terrified about asking out girls because of the fear of being rejected, giving me more proof that I was an undateable person. So it took time, but I did manage to escape that irritating mindset because rejection is just one of those things we have to accept. I mean, everyone isn't going to like you for the way you are, and we should be fine with it. But in breaking the chain of low self-esteem, it actually goes over how overcoming our own low self-esteem is a process that isn't automatically given to people. It takes time and personal experience before we become a master over it. And the first point is to learn to be patient with the process. Think of it as a time that you drove a car or rode a bike. At first, you didn't know what you were doing. You may have watched other people do it, or maybe even read a book on how to do it. But until you practice it yourself, it wasn't the same. You needed that personal touch and experience before you became more comfortable with the process. When we hear about ways to overcome our own low self-esteem, we often want the easy way to become the confident person we want to be. As if listening to one motivational speaker or reading one book is suddenly going to erase 10 years of abuse and failure. Having low self-esteem is like having an injury that we keep inflicting upon ourselves. In the process of working on your confidence, your relationship with other people, and telling yourself positive words are all ways to allow your injuries to naturally heal themselves. And the second point is to become a master of your thoughts. One of the worst things about rejection is that you feel like no one in the world wants you just because of one person's opinion. I couldn't keep count of all the negative things I said to myself about how no one wanted me and that I was always going to be alone. You might as well call the wambulance because of those pitiful thoughts. But as little as our occasional negative thoughts can be, they're actually more dangerous than we think they are. The average human mind thinks 20 to 40,000 self-statements each day, and most people aren't even aware of what they tell themselves throughout that day. But the more negative things you tell yourself, such as, "Oh, I'm a worthless person," or "Oh, nobody likes me," or "Oh, woe is me, where's my bottle at?" the less value you put on yourself. We don't even tend to think negative thoughts too, they just happen automatically. It'd be like looking at one mouse in your house and not taking it seriously. And before you know it, there's over 9,000 of them hanging out. So take control of your mind by alternating your thoughts whenever you catch yourself saying something negative to yourself. And the third point is to stop thinking of the results. The next worst thing about rejection is that it really makes you overthink about your own interactions with the girls you like. I remember before speaking to any girls, I was constantly reminded about the one who rejected me, or sort of. And without even trying to speak to any other girls, I automatically assumed they were going to reject me like the last girl. But that's actually a silly thought to embrace, because no one knows the future, nor should they assume they know what will happen. People who struggle with low self-esteem often become fearful and anxious in situations where there's obviously no danger in it. For example, Julie was invited to go to a party, but was really afraid because all she could think about was how she was going to have a bad time or that people were going to judge her by the time she got there. She gives herself dozens of reasons as to why she shouldn't go to the party, eventually persuading herself not to go. If we tell ourselves we can't do something, we might sabotage our own efforts if we do try. If we tell ourselves we aren't worth someone's attention, we fool ourselves into thinking we're too weak to approach. Instead of always seeing the negative side of a situation you're thinking about jumping into, view the positive ones instead that may occur. Sure, things might not go as planned, but the situation is often less severe than what we think in our heads. If you have a habit of always backing away from things because of the fear of failure or rejection, base the situation on what you want, like, or believe. For example, if you see someone you like, see it as an opportunity for someone to be blessed to interact with your amazing personality. And if they don't like you, think of it as their own loss and you move happily on. And the last is to be cautious of the traditional belief system. I want you to imagine a boy whose parents and teachers taught him that 1 + 2 = 4. And for years and years, that was what he actually believed. And when someone finally told him that 1 + 2 was really 3, he told them that they were wrong and went about his way. Well, like that young boy, people's minds are molded to think that way about their own selves when they grow up. From the time they were small, people constantly told them they weren't smart enough or wasn't pretty enough. They were told they were too dumb to get an education or they should just think a certain way. And by the time they do grow up, they're too afraid to make their own decisions and think of all the options. They never think of the possibilities that they could own their own successful business. They never think that they're smart enough to create an app. And for those who do think they can do it, they put off making decisions because they're so used to being told on how to think and behave. So rather than blindly doing something just because someone told you to, know why you want to do something rather than just clinging to it because you grew up with it. Make decisions, whether good or bad, because it gives us a better chance to make better decisions in the future. Be willing to fail and take personal responsibility, and never underestimate yourself. So in final thoughts, because you weren't born with low self-esteem, you can recover from it. It's just on the process of understanding what you're afraid of most and minimizing your past mistakes. Don't place more importance on simple mistakes and don't be afraid to make a mistake. Build your social skills by being more aware of who you are, why you are the way you are, and how others see you. Be open to new ideas and be teachable. And put energy into your life and approach the future with enthusiasm. Hey guys, have any books you'd like to see in the future? Leave a comment and subscribe.